So I'm going to start with a little bit of an idea from try the words of Chizuk in this complicated time, and move on to the amazing questions everybody asked, and hopefully we'll get to some interesting discussions. I'm also giving a similar shiur for the OU, but I'll be honest right now, there's certain issues I'm going to deal here with differently because it's my own community, so certain things I can deal with in different fashions. The Chazon Ish, in his Sefer Musar-Avicha, writes that people have a large misconception. They do not understand the difference between believing in the best of and bitachon, which basically is having trust in Hashem. It says people think that if somebody comes to a crossroads in life and they choose a path to be chosen, and what ends up happening is that no matter what, they're sure they'll always be good. They're going on a path, and they have bitachon. Everything should be good. The Chazon Ish says that's not bitachon. Bitachon is to know that everything is from Hashem. You have to utilize every single situation. Meaning, akol tova is very true, but bitachon in Hashem is that something that Baruch Hu gives you obstacles, and you're supposed to conquer them. And the idea is that you understand that it's all from Hashem. And in a second, Hashem can change these for good or for bad. We don't know what the real good is. Say a kol tova. This may not be a kol tova. However, we have to realize that with this is the situation we're put in, and this Seder Bezrat will be a special Seder, and our ancestors and great ancestors went through hard times as well. I'm not saying this is an easy time for anybody, but just like the Rambam says, as if he left Mitzrayim. So we have to make ourselves feel as if, even though we're at home, and even though some of our jobs are at jeopardy, and our financial lives, and we're losing our minds with our kids at home, we can't see our grandkids for Seder, and the Seder is alone, and it's very hard. We have to still make that effort. There's an effort, says the Rambam. It's an effort. It's not just something obvious. It's a positive commandment of effort showing we left Mitzrayim. And Be'ez Hashem will do well. So I have a number of questions everybody asked here. I'm going to try to go through some of them slowly, and then if you have specific points on the question I'm discussing, you can talk about it in chat. So I'm going to start with some of the things people have heard before, but I will try to do some new things. Okay, as follows. Let's go this. How do I do bdikat chametz for work if I am not there? Many closed items at work are okay to sell. I have cornflakes in my office which are open. Can they be sold? Okay, so I've said this a number of times. I'll say it again. With regards to selling chametz this year, as opposed to other years, we try not to sell actual chametz. The idea is to sell as much chametz as possible. People even asked me last week, and I'm saying it again, you can go to the Makolet now or order from Rami Levi if you're able to, and gather as much chametz as possible in order to sell it on Pesach, before Pesach, and then keep it till after the year. What do you do about selling at your workplace? Selling at your workplace is complicated. If it's in your own office, so some say you can sell it yourself without the issue of the Baal Bayit. I recommend telling the Baal Bayit that you want to be able to sell the area where the chametz is, and that's the most mahadra thing. You call your boss, your Baal Bayit, and say, I have chametz in the third drawer, I have chametz on my desk, I have chametz in the workroom, can you please let me sell it? And then you add that when you're selling your chametz to the place where chametz is. One of the lists, it's very important when you sell your chametz to say where the chametz is located, your freezer, your storage room, your desk, your basement. All these things should be added when you're selling chametz. I mentioned last week in my shiur video, I'll mention here again, it is important to try, if possible, to put all the chametz you have in a secluded area and mention that in the shtar, because you try not to have chametz in our house. However, if it's not possible, there's definitely room to sell the chametz and put it in a cupboard in your kitchen, lock it up, and also in your freezer as well. I have permission to sell work. Second, I have permission to sell work for chametz every year. Okay, perfect, very nice. Okay, this is an issue I got a lot of questions about. Any pointers, Rabbi, for davening on Pesach, V'tental, Sfirat HaOmer, Seder? Very, very good questions. I'm going to deal with them piece by piece. So this year, since we don't have a minyan, many things might be different, and important to pay attention to these things. With regards to Leila Seder, I'm going to make a couple of pointers from the beginning. Normally, what we do is we daven Mariv in Shul earlier because we have Hallel, okay? And then we come home and it's already late. What's recommended to do this year is slightly different. Since many of us are in bidud, and so many of us we have little kids, and it's complicated, we're exhausted from this whole situation, I recommend you daven at home. You make what's called early Shabbos, which would mean that this year you could even daven at 5:30 mincha. You daven once. I'm going to answer this question about the iron top stuffed up soon. You daven earlier. You daven before Plag and Mincha. I'll send out the times before Chag. Then you can daven Mariv all the way till Shkia. Now, why is that an advantage? Because what you can do then is you can make Kiddush exactly at Seit HaKochavim. Exactly at Seit HaKochavim. You can start your settle earlier. I also might recommend it because I got this. I'll mention that point after, actually. So again, you should daven early. Daven Mariv at Seit, and daven Mariv before Shkia, and then at Seit Kochavim, when you get everything organized, you start Kiddush. With regards to Hallel, so the minhag originally in Ashkenaz was not to say Hallel no Pesach. In Eretz Yisrael, it became a custom, and many shuls you say it. The Gra says the reason we say it is for those who aren't going to be at the Seder, which would mean that if you're originally Ashkenaz, you want to save yourself some time, you do not have to say Hallel, and I think you shouldn't say Hallel at home. I mean, we say Hallel as a tzibur, however, saying Hallel at home, you should say it without daven mar without Hallel this year at night. You're going to say the Seder anyways. That's probably preferably, and you definitely shouldn't say a bracha. If you want to say Hallel, you should say with a bracha, and that even goes for Sfar. So Hallel you should not say at night. With regards to Sfirat HaOmer, so just quickly, we're all chayav in Sfirat HaOmer the first day of Chol HaMoed, Motzei Yom Tov. You should daven a little bit earlier, Tzedek Kochavim exactly, so you do Tfilot. You say Sfirat HaOmer on your own, and there's no question that you should not daven earlier Marav, even though you're by yourself. Meaning, even though people, how early can I daven? Somebody said, you can daven Marav 21 minutes after Shkia. Normally at 35, 21 or 22 is still considered fine to daven Marav after a Shkia. I have to check the times in our luchot, in our calendars. With regards to Sfirat HaOmer, you should daven Marav every day after Tzeit. The Tosfot and the Shulchan Aruch and Siman Taf Beitet bring an opinion. You can still daven the Plag and Mincha. However, we prefer not to do so. And even though you be a Chid and you might forget, it's still preferable to daven Mariv at Seit HaKochavim all the days of the Omer, and then say Sfirat HaOmer. With regards to the 10 Talum Atar, not 10 Talum, with regards to the 10, no, with regards to Morid Atal. Sorry, not the Morid Atal. So the Avi Izri, one of the Rishonim in Ashkenaz talk about how we only start saying Morid Hatal once the Tzibur has daven. Meaning you have to daven with a hachrazah. Meaning there has to be a chaz who says Morid Hatal, and then you daven Morid Hatal. However, this year there's no minyanim pretty much. There's a minyan here and there. There's no real Tzibur. Now the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah bring in Siman Kuf Yadalet, if you're sick, you should daven Mariv when the Tzibur should daven. However, I think this is a din derabanan, and some people are also going to be exhausted. It's very, very hard this year to be able to find out exactly when the tzibur is daven. It's 10:30, it's 10:45, it's 10:15. You can daven shachris the first day of Chag, whenever you want in the morning. Daven early as possible is recommended. Then you can daven musaf right after, and at that musaf, even without hachrazah, you can say Morid Hatal. How do you do it? Some say that to be yoytz design, to go above and beyond. When you say Morid Hatal, you say Morid Hatal. You should yell it out loud, even though by yourself. That's considered kind of a hachraza, kind of proclaiming Morid Hatal. And then you have Morid Hatal for all of Chag. So you can daven Mar. You don't have to daven Musaf at 10 or 9:30. You can daven Musaf whenever you'd like, and then you can have your Morid Hatal. So any questions regarding Sfirat HaOmer, Leil Seder, or Morid Hatal? We're going to continue on to some kashrut questions.
There's a parking spot here. You want to move your car?
Hello?
What's the point? Next time,
Can somebody mute, whoever's talking, if it can mute their mic, please. Somebody start, I hear them in the background. Thank you very much. I have a Gabi at home. Okay, so we're finished with regards to the Morid Hatal and Seder issues. I'm going to go back to a bunch of kashrut questions that I've gotten. We're going to get into Kidyo, which is very interesting, and I'm going to start with a couple steps further. Somebody asked how to kasher their stovetop. So normally with a stovetop, we can do something called libun kal. How do we do libun kal? You don't normally use a blowtorch, but this year we can't do a kalat kelim. So how do you kasher your stovetop? you clean. If there are two types of stovetops that I know of. Tell me if I'm wrong. The old style stovetop, which I have in my house, is open gas burners. What do? And there's sometimes the gas burners are on some kind of stainless steel rack plate. What you do is you take off the burners when, of course, they're cold. You take off the racks that are on top. You clean the surface area as much as you can. You put it on after cleaning with chemicals. Make sure it's clean the whole area. You put it on for 10 minutes with the gas running. Again, the fire running, so it caches it. With regards to the bars where the pots sit, you can take the bars off and put them in between the fire back and forth, each side about 9 times. And that's kashing your stovetop for Pesach. You don't have to cover with tinfoil. That's how you kash your stovetop for Pesach. We're going to talk about also unique things regarding this Pesach because of Corona and those important quarantine. That's how you kasher your stovetop for Pesach. Of course, you should wait that the stovetop has not been used for 24 hours in between. Okay, somebody asked me, what about an electric urn? Electric urn is very simple. You clean it well. You put in citric acid to clean it. You put in hot water, boil it once, and your urn is kasher Pesach, especially during this time of year. What about Tevilat Kelim, Rabbi? So I got this question a lot. I'm going to mention it again. I think it's important to mention this numerous times. People sometimes have new Kelim that they did not tov for Pesach. And they can't go to the mikveh this year because of Corona. Or they're in isolation. What do? So there are a couple of suggestions. Some say you should sell the kli through Machon Somet. And then it's owned partly by a goy, and then you can use it if it's only utensils owned by a Jew that were bought by a non-Jew, or utensils that were if they're made by a non-Jew went to a Jew, then there's a problem. Then they need tefillah. So with regards to tovlin kelim, one suggestion is to sell it. If you sell a piece to the goy, the Shari Dura Ramah says it doesn't chayav in tefillah because it's partly owned by a goy. That's what Som recommends. Some people also recommend selling your kelim, the new ones, with mechira chametz, and then don't have the rabbi sell it back to you, so it stays by the goy. Those are good ideas. They're not unheard of. However, there's a flaw with them because what's going to happen is after Pesach, you're going to have these kelim that are still belonging to goyim. You don't really need them to belong to non-Jews, and the mechira might not hold, and you're never going to tov with them. So I recommend, and this is Lan Yudati, I think it's a pshat in Rishon Zalman Auerbach, is that you should use the dishes and pots that are new for a small period of time without tevilah, because it's called shat ones, and the Ramah is matir b'diavad. He allows to use the food cooked in non-tovol kelim. This is, again, unique to the situation of Corona. Do not learn from you. don't have to tovel your dishes. You have to tovel your dishes and your pots and your pans. However, this year is unique. You use them for 5, 6, 7, 8 times during the Chag without toveling them. You put them back in your storage. You put a note on the label. You put a reminder in your phone. You put a note under your bed that these kelim are not tovel, and next year you tovel them. There's no shat ones more than this. I think by doing this opportunity, you're gaining the fact that you can tovel the kelim after the Chag and gain the mitzvah of tevilah. So that's why I recommend you do this year with regards to tevilat kelim. Any questions regarding tevilat kelim so far? We're all good. Guys, see thumbs up. I don't see any videos. No videos on. Everybody okay with that question so far? All good. Very, very good. Okay. With regards to, here's a question. Rabbi, can I use, how does the question go? Can we use alcohol gel on Pesach, or is it considered chametz? After research with a compound pharmacist, the alcohol gel and all the sano gels are not from wheat. There may be from corn and sometimes from petroleum. So the alcohol gel can be used on Pesach, can be owned, and there's absolutely no problem using the alcohol gel for Pesach. You can use the gel. On Chag, what you should do is you should add a little bit of water to them, or add water to your hand, meaning you pour the gel in your hand, add a little bit of water, because once it's watered down, it's not a shayla of memareach. You could add water to the alcohol gel, a little bit of water, or unless it's really watery, on Erev Pesach, and you can use it on Chag. On Chol HaMoed, there's no problem on Chol HaMoed using the gel regardless. I'm saying on Chag, there's a question of memareach, of blending into your hands. It's a malach on Shabbat and Yom Tov. So you should add water to your hands, the bottle, and that's you can use alcohol gel for Pesach. Okay, a question we have here. If our prepared source of fire extinguished during the Chag, we'll use our neighbor's hair to relight the extinguished fire. I don't mean to use their hair to light their hair on fire. That would not make a lot of sense. If your fire extinguisher goes, if you have your fire to cook your food on Yom Tov goes out, you can use your neighbor's. You can use your neighbor's if he has a fire to turn on. If he has a fire that's off, you cannot use it. You can't light fire in order to have it on. You have an already existing fire, then you can use that to light your fire for a Pesach. Rabbi, what about kitniot? Are there any kulas or things we should have this year than other years? Okay, so this I'm going to get to in detail. I'm going to be very careful here. Kitniot is a very important minhag. Somebody's mic is still on. Mark, can you mute all the mics? Says to mute their mic. Okay, besed. So it's be quiet. What about kiniyot this year? So kiniyot is a very important minhag. It's based in the Rishonim in the mid ages. It also exists. There's a proof from the Gemara. If everybody looks at my article I wrote in Torah Tidbits this past week, you can see in detail the basis of kiniyot. However, kitniot, the reasoning behind it is twofold. There's one that we might use we use kitniot often to make breads or baked goods, so we might get confused and use wheat. And the other reason is that they're stored with grain. So I'm going to try to tell what we're makbid on all year, normal years, and what we're makbid on this year. All year long, every year we're makbid even on New World crops, meaning the basic kitniot. I read this before. I'll read it again if anyone wants to see it. 1 second, wants to see my list of kitniot. Here, list of kitniot are as follows. Beans, caria, caradum, chickpeas, corn, fennel, grains of paradise, lentils, millet, mustard, peas, poppy seeds, sesame seeds, rice, snow peas, sugar snap peas, soybeans, sunflower seeds, peanuts, and so on. So when the Moshe Feinstein held that New World crops are not considered kitniot. New World crops are corn, soybeans, quinoa, peanuts. Now, even though we try very stringently to be makbid on those, even on normal years. However, this year in certain cases, people are in quarantine. They can't get all that they need, especially when it's derivatives of kitniot like oils. I feel that if you're stuck, there is room to be able to buy, for example, canola oil this year, or to buy certain mixtures of kitniot. But I'll talk about the mixtures in a second. I think there's room to be makel this year if you can't find, especially I know that many places are closing them down. You can barely go out. You can't even, certain makolot I know here in Malay, you can't even go inside. You have to have a list, and you're going to get mixed up. And you might be able to get a Rami Levy, and you're worried they're going to buy certain things. So again, if you're stuck in bidud in isolation or you're sick, there's room to eat those kiniyot. Now I want to add on to this. If you're not feeling well, regardless if you have corona, the Ramah and Beis Mishabura allows someone who's sick, even though he's not deadly sick, to have kitniot. So I think this year, since many of us might have asymptomatic or minor conditions, there's room to eat the new kitniot and derivatives of kitniot. Again, this is only for this year, not for all years long. Meaning all years long, every year, year after year, we should mark on every aspect of kitniot. This year, I feel there's room to be make on a couple of things. So you have the new kitniot, the peanuts, the corn, the soybeans, if you really need to. But the basic kitniot, rice, chickpeas, tahina, all those things, sesame, mustard, should be kept if possible. It's important to hold those things together and not and try to have the derivatives. In addition, children, normally we buy fancy snacks, and the problem is we're not going to have that many snacks this year. So you can give kids kitniot if needed. You can give them the rice cakes if they really need it. Kids up to age 6. Normally we're making only to age 3, but this year if you have no choice, you at age 6. The mixtures of kiniyot, sometimes you have kiniyot mixed into foods. So this year I think there's room if you can't get certain foods, like sometimes the yogurts or the puddings have kitniot inside them. And I think there's room. Again, it's important to keep kitniot. It's a very important minhag. This year I understand it's complicated. So again, there's room to be makel on a case-by-case basis with the corn and the soybeans and the mixtures, because it's really hard. People are not going to be able to buy food for Pesach. So I think there is room to be makel. I wouldn't throw it all kiniyot. Don't have rice. Don't have chickpeas. Don't make yourself, fennel or any of that kind of stuff. But try to keep the mixtures, the new kitniot for kids. If you're slightly sick, if you have any medical conditions, you should have those mixtures of kitniot. If you want more details, you can call me on a case-by-case basis. Rabbi, what about medicines? Ibuprofen, what was here? Ibuprofen, Tums, Pepto-Bismol, Advil, Tylenol. Okay. So with regards to medicines, there's actually a big misconception that you need to have a million lists of medications, but you do have to know what the medications are made from. However, those medications, after I check them with a compound pharmacist, are all kitniot, meaning Tylenol, ibuprofen, they're all kitniot, and it's too expensive for them to make stuff from chametz. So you can use Tums. Tums is kitniot. Pepto-Bismol is not even kitniot. It's kosher to Pesach. You should make sure they have a shkach on them, but you don't have to make sure they have a shkach for Pesach. So you can use the medications for Pesach and not have to buy new ones, especially because you can't go out of your house so much. So you have some of these things that you don't have normal years. Any questions regarding kitniot now? Even though I said a lot, I'm sure everybody's in shock here. Any questions regarding kitniot?
No.
Anybody in the chat? Here we go. 1 second. The liquid toothpaste for Shabbat, that's a good question. Do we need to take out new toothpaste, liquid toothpaste for Shabbat? Preferable to have toothpaste that's kosher to Pesach, but you could have toothpaste that was kosher to Pesach last year. So the question is, it's preferable to take out a new thing of toothpaste and not use one you used for chametz, even though it's not kosher to Pesach, because most of them are kosher to Pesach anyways. And what you can also use is what I buy, and this is easy to buy. You can ask me to get it for you. Is the liquid toothpaste that you use on Shabbat? That is kosher to Pesach 100%. So preferable to buy kosher to Pesach toothpaste if you can, and at least use a new thing of toothpaste for Pesach, a new toothbrush, because of the chametz that might be on it, and things that go in the mouth for more makeup because of the chametz issue. That's a good point. Anything else regarding the kitniot? Okay, 1 second. Ibuprofen makes corona much worse. Okay, so you should have ibuprofen, correct? If you're sick, I'm saying because you have your kids home for 3 weeks, my friend who asked me the question, that you can still take ibuprofen on Pesach. I'm a little bit myself. I'm not in the well. I'm saying just a little crazy from this whole episode. Rabbi, I heard, this is interesting. I'm going to do this again. I'm going to be sending Seder by myself. Is it really okay to connect with my kids and grandkids via Zoom? Hard to believe it's happening. Okay, I've gotten this question a lot, and I'm going to repeat myself again and again. The Pesach about Zoom was brought in by certain Rebbeim, and we have tremendous respect for them. They're basing their opinions on a Pesach, on a ruling 100 years ago. Electricity is mutar on Yom Tov. It has been accepted in Am Yisrael that electricity is not used on Yom Tov unless for dire needs like a mental illness or other reasons. It is not okay to do the Seder with Zoom, period. Period. I know the Pesach is read, it's discussing a lot. It's not extreme. The chief rabbiner came out against it. Zoom should not be used. I know it's very hard. Those who want to see their grandkids or their nephews or those who are by themselves, those who want to see their parents overseas. It is not okay to use Zoom at the Seder, period. Period. What I do recommend, and this is what I'm going to, people ask me this, I said this last week on my Shiur, those who have little kids up to age 4 or 5, what I do is I make what's called a mock Seder. I get ready for Yom Tov early because I'm getting ready for Plug anyways. And I sit down with my kids for an hour and I do a mock Seder. I don't eat. We sit and read the Haggadah. I feed them. We sing. We have everything. And at that time, do Zoom with the in-laws. Do a mock Seder. Give your in-laws, your parents, your grandparents, your grandkids, your great nieces, give them a taste of Seder by doing it early. Do a Seder, a mock Seder early. Sing part of the Haggadah. Say some of the Magid, even though you're not going to do the mitzvah now. Have something. Yom Tov comes in, you turn off your Zoom, you sit down by yourself and you do the Seder on your own. I know it's not easy, but you can have that same flavor of the Seder an hour earlier when it's not an Isser. When it's not an Isser, do a mock Seder an hour early with your grandkids. Even if they're older, read some of the Megillah together. Sing some of the songs, read some of the Megillah, read some of the Haggadah. Sing some of the songs you used to sing with your family. Mention the stories and the funny jokes that you say every year. But do it on Erev Chag. Do it right before Yom Tov. Get ready in Chag, sit down. You finish that special opportunity with your kids, with your family, and then you sit down on yourself, you read the Haggadah, and you do your own way. I know it's not easy, it's not fun, but you have that flavor that you're keeping Chag, Kadat, V'chadin. That's what I recommend. So the Zoom is not something I would recommend using, and I think doing Zoom before Chag is much more useful and much better as well. Let's see the other questions I have here. I mentioned about the medications. Okay, how do we sell our chametz? So I mentioned before that it's important to sell the chametz. You should have a rabbi, or you can do it. You can do the file online with the Malei Adumim. Other things during the internet, I have more of an uncomfortable feeling using. It's not so easy to. I can't confirm that the sales will be good. I recommend you either appoint somebody to be your seller of chametz, or to appoint yourself to sell the chametz, or to do through the rabbanut. You can appoint somebody else to do a kinyan sudar. That was anything possible. Somebody asked me just now on the chat, how come you can do the seder ba'od yom? Because they say yechol ba'od yom. So the answer is obvious, that I'm not saying your real seder is going to be done at night, but you're preparing, you're doing something that makes you feel, even though you're doing the seder during the day, it's not the seder. You're not doing your seder before Chag. You're preparing, you're trying to gain that feeling in. You take that feeling of before Chag and you bring it into Chag itself. That's your question. Rabbi, can I kosher my dishwasher for Pesach? So I am not a gigantic fan of dishwashers for Pesach. However, there are cases where people are in bidud. People are in isolation. People are sick. People can't get out of the house. People have little kids. Rav Hershel Shechter Shlita, the posek of the OU and the rabbi, said this year you can kosher your dishwasher for Pesach without using other. Moshe Feinstein was makbid to use other racks, to take out the racks with other racks, and then you use an eben milubenet, use a hot stick. This year, you're lucky. Only this year. I would wait 24 hours without using the dishwasher. This is what Hershel Shechter said. You can look at YU Torah online. I would pour in soap on as much as you can, soap all over inside. Put on the dishwasher on the highest temperature. Leave it there, and then you can use your dishwasher for Pesach. Again, I think it's unique this year that you can use the dishwasher under that circumstance, and that's what Rav Hershel Shechter had said. Any questions regarding dishwasher? Any questions regarding dishwasher? Okay. Next question. My son, 9 years, and I are both bechorim. What is the practice now due to the coronavirus? Okay, so normally what we do with regards to the coronavirus, with regards to Tanit Bechorot, is we have a siyum and show, and that allows the Bechorot to eat year long. In certain cases, it's going to be hard to find the siyum, and you're also not going to be at this, you're going to be through Zoom. So some say, Rav Hershel Shechter also said this, you can hear the siyum through Zoom, and then you can eat at home. If it's too hard for you to see the siyum, or you're too much in trouble for Chag, and you're too busy, and it's such a crazy time, you can do two alternatives. Henkin said if you give tzedakah, ma'ot chitin that day, then that's enough. That's a big mitzvah as to matir the tzom, matir to allow somebody to break the fast. That's unique circumstances. The other unique circumstance opinion is Rav Yechilmi Paris, one of the authors of the Balei HaTosfot, rules that as long as the bechor does not have a suda of bread, that's not considered breaking the fast. Meaning, according to Rav Yechilmi Paris, you can eat all day, whether it be cookies or cakes, vegetables, fruit, and so on and so forth. You can eat all those things. And if somebody has their mic on, I need somebody to turn their mic off. Everybody turn their mic off. Hello? The mic should be off. Okay, so the Tanit Bechorot, you can either give tzedakah and then eat a suda of bread. You can hold like Rav Yechilmi Paris and have foods as long as you're having bread. Rabbi, what do I eat on Erev Pesach because of the kinyot issue? Very good question. With regards to Erev Pesach, it's very complicated. Normally on Erev Pesach, especially after Chatzot, we're kind of stuck because we don't eat chametz and we don't eat things that are matzah and we don't eat kinyot. So this year, I think there is room to eat kinyot mixtures, soy, bread if needed, and other stuff, even though we've not, on all this year's might be more difficult to get some of the foods. So on Erev Pesach, especially when we're exhausted because we've been home for weeks straight with our kids and it's very complicated and very hard without work, there's room to be more makel on those issues needed be. Okay? Next question.
Understand them.
What else do I have here? How do I, here, I have some questions. I have some questions on the chat. 1 second, we'll go with the chat. Vitamin D, if it doesn't have any gluten or lactose, but it doesn't have a kosher Pesach, is it prescribed by a doctor? If you have vitamin C and it has no gluten, then vitamin C might have chametz, but if it doesn't have any gluten in them, there's no gluten allergy, you can use it for Pesach, even if it's open. One second, another question. What can be eaten on Erev Chag? You can have kitniot on Erev Chag. If you want to have rice, you can have rice on Erev Chag, not on Chol HaMoed and not on Pesach itself. You can have actual kitniot on Erev Pesach this year. I think it's a unique circumstance. You can have not only mixtures of kitniot, like anything that has kitniot in it, or corn, or beans. You have actual kitniot, rice and hummus. You have hummus on Erev Pesach if you need to have. You can't have matzah, and you can't have kitniot, and you can't have chametz on Erev Pesach. Rabbi, I'm supposed to get married in a couple of days, and I wondered if I can get married with regards to during Shiur Omer. So Rav Lau said that this is a lot of questions coming up. There are simchas that people want to make, weddings and bar mitzvah parties and so on and so forth. So Rav Lau allowed people to do on Shiur Omer. I think there's another way to get around this. Kitniot, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the question. Kitniot Erev Pesach, cooked in a Pesach pot, yes, you can eat it. Kitniot Erev Pesach in a Pesach pot, you can eat it. That's this year. With regards to weddings, so it's also going to the wedding and also making the wedding. Rav Lau said you can make a wedding on Shiur Omer, and then you can go to no problem. I want to mention an ulterior idea because people, I'm not sure you're aware of this. There's a big discussion in the earlier authorities. What days of the Omer do we keep avelut? I'm not sure if everybody's aware of this, but anybody who comes from Chutz La'aretz, I'm sure remember this. In Eretz Yisrael, it's accepted that we keep the mourning customs from Pesach through Lag BaOmer. After Lag BaOmer, all bets are off, and we can have a fun time with our music and our haircuts and so on and so forth. There exists a different minhag. There are some people who keep from Rosh Chodesh Iyar. From Rosh Chodesh Iyar, they keep the Sefira, and then they keep Avelut through Gimel Sivan. Now, the Mishnah Berurah says you shouldn't do both minhagim. You shouldn't keep from Rosh Chodesh to Lag BaOmer, because then you're dancing at both weddings. I think this year, with regards to weddings, if someone wants to do a wedding prior to Rosh Chodesh, then there's room to be mekel, and then you keep the next sphere. You keep the Avelut from Rosh Chodesh to Gimel Sivan. With regards to getting your haircut, so I know that this year it's very sad because we don't have an opportunity to get our haircut. We don't have an opportunity to have nice new clothing. We need some things. So I think this year, if again, I'm very careful about what I say. If all this ends right after Pesach, you can get your haircut until Rosh Chodesh. You can get new clothes until Rosh Chodesh. You can still make simchas until Rosh Chodesh Iyar. Then from Rosh Chodesh Iyar, this year only, until Gimel Sivan, you shouldn't cut your hair and try not to go to simchas. However, if that's also impossible, there's room to be able to get your hair cut during Sfira and certain simchas if needed. Again, this is a unique situation, and only because of the circumstances we're under, I feel room to be able about these weddings and simchas and so on and so forth. Rabbi, how do I kasher my big pot in my house? I normally go to Hagalat Kelim, but this year I'm not able to. I have no way to kasher. So I explained this in my shiur last week. I'll explain it again. How do we do a Hagalat Kelim? We do something called, we use boiling hot water, and we have the water boil with bubbles. We put in our kelim that haven't been used in 24 hours, whether it be the dishes, whether it be the spoons, whether it be all this other stuff. That's how we do Hagalat Kelim. However, this year, what do? They have a big pot, that we can't do Hagalah to, where we bring it to this gigantic tub, this garbage-like tub. We dip it in there. How do we do it this year? So the way to do it is you don't use it for 24 hours. You take your big soup pot, you let it boil over. You add a lot of, let it boil over and over and over. When it boils over the entire plea, that's Hagalat Kelim to your dish. If you have a pot that you need for Pesach, there's no way to kasher it. You can have it boil over. Again, when it hasn't been used for 24 hours, and that's how you magil your plea for Pesach. That's the one thing to do. Next question. Rabbi, how can I burn the chametz when I am at home alone and it is not a good idea for me to go out? I am in several risk groups, etc., etc. Can I ask someone else to do it for me? If so, what would the declaration work? that person makes the time to burn chametz. For safety reasons, I don't think it's a good idea for me to burn it myself on my Mir Pesach. A family member suggested just throw it in the trash. Is that permissible? Do we do that? After all, chametz that we burn, blah, 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 blah. Okay, long question. Okay, in general, like I said, you should sell as much chametz as possible. You have to leave a little bit of chametz for beer chametz. So there are a couple opportunities here how to do beer chametz. I'll explain them all in detail. If you have some place in your Pesach where you can burn it, very, a small piece, just a kazayit, in your Mekayim the mitzvah. However, this year that might not be easy because some of us can't even go outside to our Pesach. Sometimes some people are not able to burn; they're very scared. So you can do a couple of options. You can put it in a bag, pour some chemicals on it so it destroys it; it's not edible. And you can either put it out in the trash. Have somebody put it in the trash for you. You say the fact that you're making shaliach. You're putting my chametz in the trash. And I'm putting it in the trash, I'm accomplishing and consummating the mitzvah of bir chametz. Another suggestion that I saw in the poskim, and this is for people who really can't do any of this, is they leave a small piece of chametz left. I hope it's okay because then it clogs and things. You put it in the toilet and you flush it down the toilet. That's what we do every single year. These questions come out every single time where we have Erev Pesach that falls on Shabbat. When Erev Pesach falls on Shabbat, those are the questions we have. So you can either throw it in the garbage, you can do the toilet, and that's you do bir chametz. You should all make sure you have some chametz left over to Mekayim bir chametz. That's very much recommended if possible. What else do we have here? Do we have to clean our minibar for Pesach? If yes, and how? I don't know how every minibar works. There are some poskim who are concerned that the minibar spout, if you use like tradition soups or manot chamot, they swallow chametz. I think there's room this year to be makel, and I think also Aruch Shulchan is makel all year long. So if you clean the spout very well with hot water, with a nice chemical, you clean around, you boil the water once, then you can use your minibar for Pesach, no problem. I would add, with regards to the minibar, make sure it has a proper hechsher for Shabbat. Somebody I saw asked about the dish. Somebody about the dishwasher about Shabbat. Same thing. The dishwasher that you're koshering for Pesach, where you're leaving it 24 hours empty and you're using on the heat with the soap, make sure it has a proper Shabbat mechanism. If you want to use it on Shabbat and take it off, that it's used correctly. Okay. What else do we have here? I have some more questions down here. Somebody asked if I can give my kid kinyot. So yes, if you give your young child kinyot in that case, there's room to definitely be makel on those issues. I think that there's room to that as well. How do I kasher my card for Pesach? I plan on driving it this year, and I have no way of paying it for Pesach because I'm in isolation. Okay, so ideally, if you don't plan on using your card for Pesach, you have a problem cleaning it, what I would do is I would sell the chametz in the car, and then don't use the card for Chag, and then you're good in terms of that for Pesach. With regards to people who need their car for Pesach, I don't know why you need it, but maybe if you need it for something, I would try to have somebody come in and take out any visible chametz. Any non-visible chametz, I would say mevatlo belibo v'dayo. Do bittul, somechan bittul for the car because you can't get a whole thing clean from beginning to end, and that's how you should do. Rabbi, I am very elderly, and normally my grandson helps me come to clean the house for Pesach. He goes under the armoires, under the library, and under the fridge. I am unfortunately unable to do these things. How should I clean for Pesach? Wow, very good question. So the Gemara says there's something called the mapolet. The Gemara says that if a thing of rocks fell on chametz that I can't access, then I just do bittul and not biur. We try our best as we can to clean everywhere. However, in a case where we're not able to, and there's a large amount of chametz that's under a fridge that I can't get to, or chametz behind my library, or chametz on the bottom of my couch. So if you can move it and clean it up, and you're able to, of course. However, those who are elderly and those who really can't do it, it's like a mapolet. They won't be able to access it anyways. They should have in their bittul and erev Pesach the intent to mevatel that chametz, and then that's how they've successfully done bittul to their chametz. That's what I recommend in terms of bittul. Rabbi, with regards to deodorant, soaps, and deodorant, soaps, and hand soap for Pesach. What should we do this year? So in general, we try to get certain things with hashkacha, and certainly you don't have to do with hashkacha. You don't need the economic on bleach. You don't need that kosher lepesach. It's enough to have kosher. It's not really no dog is gonna eat your bleach. With regards to hand soap and deodorant and soap, we sometimes are concerned with the shita in the Rishonim. That's sicha kishtia, when you're lathering something as if you're drinking it. This year, there's definitely going to be mekel. I would recommend you don't have to worry about buying deodorant kosher Pesach or other stuff kosher Pesach. I would recommend if you can possibly get hand soap or dish soap. When you use the soap for your dishes and you put them on your dishes for Pesach, prefer to get kosher Pesach. You can get that because that's a little more of a concern. So even though every year we try to get the exact deodorant and the exact stuff not kosher Pesach, with regards to this year, you can be more mekel, especially with the deodorants and the perfumes. With hand soap and toothpaste, those things you try your best to do. With regards to eggs, milk, and flesh, let's say I have a question here. Do I kosher large pot lid that don't fit in my large pot? Oh, okay, very good question. I didn't mention that. Thank you very much. Somebody asked about the large pots. So the pot lids for Pesach. If you can put them in the pot halfway while the water is boiling and then flip it over immediately and the circumference enters the pot, that's fine. That's great. You can do hagala half and half. If it's metal and you can, the circumference is too big, you should kosher it when you kosher your oven. How do you kosher your oven? You clean the rack, you leave it empty for 24 hours, you turn on the oven for 24 hours and it koshers the oven. When you're koshering the oven, put your metal lid in the oven and that'll kosher your lid. What happens is the lid is made out of glass and it'll shatter in the oven. So I would recommend you use a different pot for Pesach. I don't know how to. The problem is I'm not sure if you can't fit it in the lid inside the pot and you can't put it in your oven, you have a problem koshering for Pesach. You can't kosher for Pesach. So if you have a lid that's metal, that would be preferred. If you have a lid that has glass on it, you can either try to put it in a bigger pot and do both half and half. If not, you should not use the glass lid for Pesach. No choice. 1 second. When is koshering a pot in the oven? Is that chametz or Pesach oven? So you do it like this. While you're koshering your oven, it does the same. As your oven is being koshered, the pot's being koshered as well. So you can either put the pot in after and sit there for 20 minutes and have it koshered after your Pesach oven is already koshered. You shouldn't kosher while the Pesach oven is chametz, meaning clean it out. And I'm saying while you're koshering the oven for Pesach, you can kosher the pots in the oven at the same time. Either that, or you can kosher them afterwards. But you can do either way, either while you're koshering for Pesach or even afterwards. Is that okay, everybody? Everybody understand that? Thank you with that point with regards to those things. Rabbi, I have a gas barbecue at home. How do I kosher it for Pesach? So normally what's recommended is that you shouldn't put on your gas barbecue ever direct bread, because then some say you need to libun chamur to the libun chamur is a certain type of heat that's very hard to get to, and we don't do that today because we're concerned you're going to not do it right because it might break. What you normally do is if you don't put on direct chametz, just put on hamburgers or anything that has chametz in it, but not bread, you clean it very well using very strong chemicals. You put it on the gas for 20 minutes, make sure it's clean, and then you have a kosher barbecue for Pesach. No questions asked. Do I have to do hagalat kalim to my kiddush cup? It's a good question. Normally the minhag is to do hagalat kalim to your kiddush cup. How do you do hagalat kalim? Said before, you make a pot, 24 hours old. You put in hot water. You put in your kiddush cup. This year, I want to mention that you only have to do for a kiddush cup if you use wine. Because some say if you use wine, the chametz will come in, and it'll be kvisha, it'll be marinated. However, we're certainly al machmir to kosher their kiddush cup every year anyways. If the kiddush cup is only used with grape juice, there's room to be mekel and not kosher that year like we normally do. Okay. Rabbi, I have some porcelain teacups that I got from my grandmother. They're over a year old. Can I kosher them for Pesach? So porcelain and is a problem. Porcelain we don't normally kosher for Pesach. However, if they're a year old and they haven't been used, there is room to do hagala. You put them in hagala and you kosher them and use them only for Pesach. That's up to be so machan for certain things. Do I have to clean my kids' toys and my kids' high chairs? Yes. Even though this year it's not easy, you definitely have to. How goes on the Pesach part? I'm going to go back to the question in a second. You have to clean the area where there really should be chametz, meaning the high chairs, the kids' toys. You have to clean those, even though it's harder this year. You have to clean them. There's no question they have to be cleaned. No questions asked. Somebody asked a question in the chat regarding the kashering hagal in the Pesach pot. You do not have to do hagal in the Pesach pot. You can do it in a chametz stick pot. Make sure the chametz stick pot is cleaned. Make sure the chametz stick pot is cleaned and hasn't been used in 24 hours. And there you can do your hagalat kelim without any questions asked. Okay. With regards to bedikat chametz, you should try to leave a room where you didn't clean up everything, and you should do the 10 pieces of bedikat chametz like we do every single year. And there's no question that the bedikat chametz should be done as normal. What about tfilat tal? Can I say it biyachid? Tfilat tal is only said in a tzibur, so tfilat tal you should not say this year. Just like Yudav Musaf by yachid, and there you add morid hatal. A large parv big metal dish became meat. A large parv big metal dish became meat. Can I put it in the oven and turn it back to parva? Yes, you can. Somebody asked, can I kasher that way for milchet the fleshach or for milchet back to parv? Yes. If I have a fleshach pot that I want to kasher back to parv, so I can put it in the oven after it's 24 hours old, hasn't been used, it's cleaned, and I put it in my oven while I'm kashering my oven for Pesach. Because if there's still meat inside the oven, it doesn't make it, you're not doing anything. And that's how you're kashering your things for Pesach. We have some other questions here in the chat. I'm going to look what we have. What about a stainless steel stopper in the sink? With regards to sinks, so if you have a stainless steel sink, making it for Pesach is very easy. You clean it very well with chemicals. You take your water and you pour it all around the sink. Be very, very careful, and then you kasher your sink for Pesach. If you have sinks that are made of earthenware, you can't kasher them for Pesach. So you have to use what's called sink inserts. Use plastic sink inserts, and then use them for Pesach. However, you don't have sink inserts, you never made Pesach before, so you do is like this. You can buy a rack. If you can't get a rack, put a rack in the sink for Pesach. It also might be possible. If there's no choice, you clean out the sink, and you leave your dishes on the side on your countertop, and you wash them in the air. There's no other choice. It's not easily allowed to use the chametz stick sink for Pesach. You have to clean the dishes in the air and put them on the side, and that's how you clean the dishes. With regards to a stainless steel stopper, you can kasher it. It's stainless steel. It's metal that is, it has a gullah. You take a kumkum, you pour it down, and that's how you clean the stopper for Pesach. What other questions? Is quinoa kitniot? So I wrote in my article that quinoa is not kitniot because the OU holds that quinoa is not kitniot because it's a new world crop and it's not similar to the gzeira. The OU and Rosh Hashanah you can allow quinoa even on regular years for Pesach. Spices. So what do you do about spices? What do I do about spices this year? So the Ramah writes that spices are not included in kitniot, but many achronim felt certain spices can't be properly checked today. So I can't buy all my spices. So spices that might have chametz should be sold. Spices that don't have chametz, you should do as I recommended this for a number of people. You take the spices out that were used, even though if you use it directly to your hand, like you put the spice on your hand and into the food, that's fine for Pesach as well in this situation, unfortunately. If you pour it over the dish, that's a little more complicated. What I recommend you do is to take your spice and check them. If there's no chametz in them, you literally take the spice out of the bottle, check the spice, put it in a new bag for Pesach, and then you can use it for Pesach, no problems asked. With regards to kinyot shenishtanu, somebody asked me about absorbic acid and aspartame. Those are, if they're chametz free, there's no problem using them for Pesach. A question I've been getting a lot, and I'll finish up with this, with regards to Schweppes, soda water. The soda water need a special hashkafa for Pesach. So soda water, the CO2 can be made from beer, which is chametz. However, after research, it's very hard to find especially in Israel, in America and overseas as well. Certification for Pesach, you can use the Shwep sweater even though it does not say kosher Pesach, especially in Israel. With regards to the plata needs to be kashered. I've said this before. You either have to clean it off very well, put it on for 20 minutes so it heats up, and then cover it with tin foil. Some say tin foil is a fire hazard, so you should clean it up, do the same thing, put it on for 20 minutes, and then only heat up food that's on top of disposable tin pans. Okay, we've gone through a lot. Are there any more questions before I say goodbye and wish everybody a Chag Kasher v'Sameach? Feel free to ask anything. Oh, I have a question. Can you go over soda? I missed it. Soda water, regular soda water, without flavors, it's not even with flavors, are kosher Pesach with just regular supervision. Because the CO2 is not produced from beer, there's no chametz involved. The OU, I'm saying this as an OU representative also, the OU allows you to use soda water that does not have kosher Pesach approval as long as it has basic approval. That's enough to do for a kosher Pesach. That's enough. Meaning, kosher. If you have kosher all year round soda water that's closed, not open, of course, you can use that on Pesach. Any more questions, anybody? Can send in the chat. I have a couple more minutes. I'll finish up now. Anybody? Here we go. Do we hear from you next week on Shabbat Gadol? Well, I said it. I wanted to say this now because we have Pesach is now. This is the calm. I'm not going to give a drashat Shabbat Gadol. I'll try to give something else. If anybody has any more questions, you're welcome to contact me. Well, I wish all Musar-Avicha a Chag Kasher v'Sameach, and we should enjoy and we should have a feeling that we left Mitzrayim and it shall be behind us. I'm wishing everybody a Chag Kasher v'Sameach. Bye bye.
It's good.